Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Trent, the host of this channel, and if you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time, great to have you here. Typically I have some prepared topic that I go over and then I answer questions at the end. I see we have some people in the chat. Junkier Fritz, welcome to the stream. Hector, Brian, hello again. And Saul, great to have you here from New Jersey. Yeah, but I was saying, in terms of questions, certainly if you have questions as I go through the live stream, put them in the chat here. I'll try to make it interactive. Typically in the past, I've talked about the affinity programs and some other stuff with graphic design. Today I thought I'd talk about MidJourney, which is an image generation tool. It's quite popular these days, and I've been using it for several years, so I thought I'd kind of give an overview of it. And it's one of those things that's it's kind of challenging because you can do so much with it, and it's almost like, what do I even show? But I'll try to cover the highlights, and everything I talk about. There's probably like a whole hour-long talk I could give about each individual subject, but I'll try to just give you some top ideas that maybe you can try if you haven't used it before. Hi H. So I first used MidJourney in 2022. I think it was about fall or so. And there's a couple of times in my life where I've used something like some new technology, and I just like sat on my chair for like 8 hours just using it straight because I was like so blown away by what it could do. And MidJourney was certainly one of those situations. I think probably another situation was like when I first played Doom for the first time, just like a 3D world like that. But it's been around for a couple of years now, and it's constantly being improved. So let's kind of just talk about it a little bit before I show it to you. It used to be a Discord server chatbot that you would kind of send commands to, and it still is. But the new way to use it, the preferred way, is the website, midjourney.com. So that's what I'll be using for the most part today. But every once in a while, I still go back and I use the Discord server for a couple quick things. It has a command line interface, but I'll be showing you the website here. And in terms of plans, it is something that you subscribe to and you have to pay for. So I don't expect you to exactly see what this says, but you can see there's several different tiers to what you want to get with it. And like a lot of these kind of image generation things, or a lot of these AI-based tools, they're kind of CPU intensive or GPU intensive, as the case may be, graphics processor unit. And you kind of allocated a certain number of hours per your plan per month. And I'm on the standard plan, so I pay $30 a month for MidJourney. It gives me 15 hours of fast generations. That doesn't really mean anything at first to you, but as you kind of use it over the months, you kind of get a feel for like how much you use. I don't really ever approach my limit at all. I use it pretty regularly, and I'm still well within how many things I can actually create. So I find the standard plan pretty good, and I pay monthly. I guess I could probably go yearly at this point and just have it be cheaper. Hi Teak, great to have you here. There's also this mode called stealth mode. And this is how you can actually have your creations be private. So by default, they're going to be shared on the MidJourney website. And if you pay extra, you can have them be secret. So just like only you can see them. And I'll show you later, when we look at the website, you'll see how they are public for people to see. One other thing I just want to mention before we get started is you can also, the GPU hours, you can determine how fast you want your images to generate, and the slower you generate them, I guess is a little bit cheaper for your plan. Usually I do the fast mode, but I just want to say that for this demo I'm doing the turbo mode. So hopefully as I enter things in, it will be faster for you watching at home to see them, on how it just allocates more faster processors or whatever to create your image. But usually I do just the fast mode normally. So this will be today will be faster than normal. And it kind of burns through your time a little bit quicker, but I think just for an hour talk, it's not going to really matter. Teak, reading your comment. You're done for the year now, so for your YouTube videos. Okay, cool. Yeah, Teak does lots of affinity stuff too, so I guess he's taking the rest of the year off until 9th of January. Yeah, that's definitely sounds appealing. I have some stuff cached that I'll be publishing, and then I'll probably take like a week off or something around the holidays. So hope you enjoy the time there. Your time off away from YouTube. So let's first look at the MidJourney website, and let's look at the Explore page. So I'm on the MidJourney website here. I opened it up in Chrome. I'm doing the dark mode just so it doesn't hurt your eyes because there's a light and dark mode. But like I said, the website is the way I use it mostly these days. And if I click on this Explore button here, which I already did, you can kind of browse the current trending generations, like what people have created. So if you scroll through, you can see like quite a wide variety of what people have done. Let me just turn on my zoom tool also. Okay. Is it working? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, like here we have this photorealistic cat, basically. And over here we have something that looks like, you know, a kid's drawing of gerbils or something like that. I should say right off the bat, usually like MidJourney won't generate objectionable content. It has like filters on that, but every once in a while something might slip by, so I can't promise what will or won't show. Most of my prompts there are pretty innocent, so I don't think you'll see much. But I mean, there's just like an incredible variety here. And the interesting thing is when you click on something, so if you click on an image, you can see the text that someone used to generate that. So it's right there if you want to rerun it. You can also see any parameters they used. And if you're curious, you know, you can click on the person's name and see what else they generated. So if I click on this, you can kind of browse through, and sometimes you'll see like a similar style of like what this person was into. So hi MTM, thanks for joining. So I guess this person was interested in like coloring books or something, because that's what this looks like here. But this is because they don't have stealth mode. So when people don't have the stealth mode, you can actually see all the stuff they generate. So kind of scrolling through, again, lots of variety here. Even stuff like this. You know, one thing I mention a lot is that what you create from this, it doesn't necessarily have to be a final result, but might just be like inspiration for something. So, you know, maybe you're doing a menu or some type of high-tech brochure. If we look at this, we can see it doesn't really make sense. You know, the text and that kind of stuff isn't actually readable. Can I open this? Yeah. Like, you know, the text, I'll talk about later how to make text and stuff like that. But this could be like the basis of an idea. Like, okay, you see this and you're like, all right, I'll redo this myself and make it better. Or I'll use the tool to make it better. You know, you could erase this stuff in the bottom, put your own text there. So there's just lots of possibilities here. One thing you can do is kind of, you know, you can bookmark things. So you can like click the heart there if you like the image or not. One of the more valuable things is the search tool. So up here I can search. So if you have a topic you're interested in or even a style, you can type something in. We'll go say robot. So now I can see like all the public robot creations, and I can base my own design on one of these things if I want. I can take what's here and I can go forward from it. Like I said, you can click on an image and then you can rerun the prompt yourself. And I'll show you how to do that in a bit. But I kind of just want to show you some other use cases for this, because obviously you see a lot of stuff online that's obviously AI generated, is very stylized or something, but you know, there's lots of business use cases for it too. Like if I search product up here, I mean, you basically have all these product mockups, right? And you know, if you're selling some type of I don't know, cosmetic cream or something, and this resembles what your product looks like, you can create something like this, you know, and put your own mock-up in there. So there's lots of opportunities for things like this. Maybe you do like mouse pads or something. I work with a lot of like print-on-demand people who are into that. So like a lot of them are using it for this type of thing, like creating a mock-up for their you know, computer accessories or something. And of course you would edit it. So you would take something like this and you would put your own design in there just by masking out or something. You can also, like, let's say you want to think about how to design your house, you know, interior design. So here we have just possible options for ideas of what a house could look like or something like that. Maybe we want to look at like modern kitchens. So again, I'm just typing the most basic prompt, but you can add in other things too. You can also type in art styles. So for example, if I type in vector art, I can see images that look like vector style. Now currently it doesn't actually generate vector images. These are all going to be bitmaps, but you can try to convert it with a conversion tool, or you can just like download what it gives you and upscale it using some upscale tools. Later I might show you in Canva how to do that. There's some other ones, Topaz. MidJourney itself allows you to upscale once, but typically I think the max resolution is about 2048 pixels on the side. I don't know if it goes much higher than that at the moment, but that's kind of what I'll usually upscale in MidJourney, and then I'll use something like Topaz to upscale it again. But here we have some vector styles. You can do, say, oil painting. Now, sometimes if you type something like this, it might show you the active oil painting as opposed to like oil painting style. But maybe if I type oil painting style, we get more images in that style. These look more like digital art than like legit oil painting. But you can go and refine your prompts here. And like I said, you can click on someone's name to like find more of their style. So if I click on this, I can see more of what they generated. So let's look a little bit about how we can actually create our own stuff instead of just looking at other people's stuff, because that's kind of what you want to do. So the main thing is this create button here. So I'll click create, and you can see some stuff I already created, but I'll create some new things. The whole idea of like what to type for a prompt is kind of it's a big topic that a lot of people put a lot of effort into, but my main advice is just act like you're talking to a person. Like maybe you're working with an artist and you're trying to explain what you want them to have. So, you can just say like, okay, like maybe I want a dolphin in the desert. A dolphin jumping in the desert. And there's a castle in the background. And maybe I want it to be photorealistic. It's just a very basic prompt to start. And then when I press enter, it'll start generating it. And what it typically does is it generates 4 different versions of the image it gives you. So you can kind of choose like which of the 4 you want to go forward with, or maybe even more of them. So here we have the images that were generated. And what you can do is you can kind of vary the image a bit. So if you hover over it, you'll see there's these very subtle and very strong. The V stands for vary, to give it, it means make a new version of it that looks a little bit different. So let's say this middle one here, if I want to do a subtle variation, I'll click V subtle. Maybe I also want to do a strong variation. So I'll click very strong. And let's see how they look different. So this is kind of like the process of iterating on things. So that's one. So I think this top one was the very strong, and this bottom one was the subtle variation. So it's a kind of a way to get a little bit of differences there. Let me show you one other prompt. Hi, Sekmatera. So this is one I made earlier. Now this is a very long one, but it's basically kind of like a glass bottle with a plant in it. So let's generate this. And we'll see what comes out here. Hope you're doing well. And like I said, this will go a little bit faster than usual because I have turbo enabled. And you can see it generates this result here. Now the interesting thing is that like the aspect ratio is something you can also change. So let me put that prompt in again. And you'll see these controls here, these 3 controls. If I click on this, there's several parameters here. I'll go into some of them a little bit later, but one of the main ones is the image size, and this allows you to change the dimensions. So right now it's a square, but I can kind of drag it to make it look different sizes. I can say portrait. I'm not sure if you can see here, like it's showing me the angle. So I'm gonna regenerate it, and it's gonna be like this this ratio there. Usually it's bigger than that. Yeah, so I guess if I, okay, when I have it bigger, it's you can see it. It gives you the preview there better. But I'll keep this small so I can look at your chat. So I'll just hit enter again, and so now it's going to be a different dimension. And I'll close this. And the dimension can really influence how your image looks. It definitely it's going to try to fill the space or something like that. So the ones down here were more squarish, and these ones are taller. So, if you want a taller image, if you make it taller, it's going to try to, typically the things in your image are going to be taller too. So this is going to be the other result here. One thing I want to show is, let's see, I'm trying to decide what to show next. Vegas guy, you have no interest in MidJourney, but maybe it's interesting. Yeah, I think so. You can also kind of control it with what you don't want. So let me show a salad. And I accidentally forgot to reset the aspect ratio. So let's see what happens here. Let's reset that. So you can see there's like salad and stuff like that, and there's tomatoes in the salad. You can also tell it what you don't want into it. So if I say salad, I can do -- no, and I can say tomatoes. And if I hit enter, now when it generates it, it should leave out the tomato. So you can kind of like tell it things you don't want. It seems like it still has some red, but maybe those red are peppers. Yeah, so the red are peppers, not tomatoes. I don't see any tomatoes. Same thing over here. So yeah, you can tell it like not to put things in there. Lots of croutons and stuff. Maybe you don't want croutons. So let's get rid of the croutons. Maybe you don't like bread. And let's see what it does here. But a lot of the process is just kind of like iterating onto things. You really get the result you want first, but I'll show you kind of how to go forward with it. And yeah, it looks like there's no croutons in these that I can see. No bread or anything like that. So yeah. My kind of test for these things, especially when generating food, is like, does it look like you actually want to eat it? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think this one looks pretty good. Like that looks pretty fresh, like you'd want to have that. So there's some other parameters here. I won't go into all of them because there's various, they have subtle points, but there's one called stylization. And this one is kind of like how artistic it's going to make your design look. So one thing I'll do is let's try a haunted house. You get hungry? Yeah, I guess that's a good sign. If the fake food image makes you hungry, I guess it's pretty convincing. So let's do a haunted house here. And I'll do it again, but this time, let me turn the stylization like really down to nothing. So this is, again, I'm clicking on these 3 dots here, and I'm turning this stylization option all the way down. And you can see when I do that, it tells you the parameters over here. So I guess this one seems to be a little bit less stylized. I don't know if I would say that. Let's try one with high stylization. I guess let's try photorealistic. Sometimes if it's trying to do like artwork, it can't help but look a little bit stylized just because it's like art, But if I do like a photorealistic one, maybe this will look a little different. So it's a haunted house, photorealistic, stylized 0. And then when this finishes, I'll do another one. So yeah, very kind of plain and boring. This one's kind of just like a creepy Polaroid photo or something like that. Let's try it again. But let's do the stylization, let's just crank it up. I don't know, 400. And yeah, you can kind of see the difference, I think. This is our low stylization, and then with the higher stylization, there's lots of glowing lights and more elaborate colors and things like that. So I think this is one of those parameters you can kind of mess around with. Another thing you can do is pan and zoom your images. So let's do that. Let me show you another prompt. This is kind of like a cyberpunk robot. Let's check it out. So for those joining late, this is MidJourney. I'm on the create page. So this is like an image generation tool. The Thomas Kincaid window lighting. Yeah, that's it's very that kind of cozy feel. It just needs some like, fairies and deer walking around in the background. So a kind of common situation is you generate something and it looks cool, but it doesn't quite fit in your image or something like that. Like, you can see these are nice, but they're all kind of cut off a bit. So what you can do is you can actually pan your image to generate more. So let's do this. Let's do this one. Let's do this one on the right. So what I did is, I don't know if you saw that. So I just clicked on it here. So if you click on it, you get these extra options down here. And these are the ones that let you modify the image you have. So you can zoom out, or you can pan to the right, or you can do like both, one after the other. I'm going to pan to the right. So what that's going to do is I'll click this button here, pan right, and that's going to generate more of an image onto the right side. So let's do that. I'll click this, and it just kind of does it behind the scenes. So I'll click over here to close this. So now I'm back on my image generation tab. Yeah, pseudo terminator. And now you can see I've expanded it to the right there. And from here, you can pick the one you like the best. I think, this one kind of, these left two seem the most normal. Let's go with this one here. Once again, we're still kind of cut off. This time I'm going to zoom out a bit. So if I zoom out, it'll kind of add content all around it. So somewhere there's a zoom option. Zoom. Yeah. Zoom. You can do 1.5x or 2.x. Let's do 1.5. Just subtle zoom. And let's see if we get more of the robot. So yeah. So here you can see we're getting more of a complete picture of it. So we have all that. And we could pan down. We could keep going. Let's pan down once and see what it does for us. So I click the down button. So that's going to generate more content below the photo. Let's see what it does. Yeah, so here we have our results. So these four different options, you can choose which one you like. Sometimes they're fairly similar, sometimes there's subtle differences between them. Hey, allegedly trouble. But you can see here, we started with this down here, and then using the panning and just basically it's the content aware fill or something like that. It's kind of what we did. We were able to actually build it out and get something like this. And there's more ways we can modify it. You can also rearrange parts inside of it. So if I click the editor button here, I'll click editor. And I can actually erase areas and have them regenerate. So let's do this. And I'll click submit again. And then it'll recreate that facial area there. So let's go back. Let's see what it does. And this is kind of the process a lot of the time with these things, where you kind of just go back and forth and modify them. Usually it doesn't come out right the first time. Yeah, so here we can see the final results. I don't know if I like any of these better. I don't think they look as good as the original, but you can see it tried to do different things. So sometimes that's more successful than others. Now turn it 90 degrees. Yeah, to like what, rotate it sideways? I don't know if yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I'll show you later, like, but a lot of times I'll take something that I got here and I'll modify it further off in Affinity Photo or something like that. So, yeah, this is just kind of an example of how to actually fill things out there. Now, kind of before we go further, I just kind of want to explain a little bit how this tool works, just because I think it helps shed a little bit of light. It kind of explains like what you saw here, how these diffusion models are trained and what they work with. So basically the way they're trained is that they're given lots of images, and the images, what happens is they have kind of two antagonistic processes. One process is adding a little bit of, one process is trying to denoise an image, and the other process is grading how well a job it did cleaning up the image. So for example, maybe you start with an image of a cat. And what happens is when they do the training, they add some noise to the cat image, and then they try to denoise it back to the original image of the cat. And when it can denoise a little bit of image, a little bit of noise very well, they try to add even more noise. So they'll go to stage 3, and then the training will start from this position. They'll try to remove all the distortion from this image to get back to the original. And then they just keep doing that. Like as it gradually gets better at removing noise, they keep adding more noise and training it to go backwards to the beginning, until eventually you get to the point where it's pure noise and you just say, give me a cat out of this noise, and essentially it will invent a cat out of pure noise. And the reason I mention this is because this is kind of the process you're seeing. Whenever we generate these images, let me go back here. I'll just say a robot. You see the noise really quickly when it starts. Here you see the noise, and I have it on turbo mode, so it goes very fast. But when you saw that again, let me do this again. Notice how there's that blurry image at the beginning? Like, sometimes it doesn't show. I don't know why it's not showing now. It should. So there you go. Yeah. Like that's not the image downloading or something like that. That's the tool just creates a random field of blurry data, and that tries to denoise it back to whatever words you typed in. And because it's trained on so much data, it kind of has an idea of like, okay, it eventually learns to invent things out of its training data. So this is kind of, I just want to mention this because like when you're generating something and it starts with this type of information, and then it kind of backtracks to try to make it fit the words that you typed in. So I think that's kind of a useful concept to know. Let's look a little more at modifying an image here. Let me type another prompt in here. What ratio should I do? Let's make it a little wider. So here I typed a cat playing with a ball of yarn in a watercolor style white background. Hi, Sandra. So I'll submit this. And kind of the demo I want to talk about now is a little bit more about, where is it? A little bit more about like modifying the results you get here. So we have this image here, and as I showed you before, you can vary the image, but you can also paint out certain stuff in it. So let me let's find one of these we like. I don't know, this one's kind of cool. And if I click the editor, I think this will be a better example than what I showed you before. Let's paint out this ball here. Let's get rid of the string. And what I can do is I can change my prompt a little bit to regenerate part of it. So instead of a ball of yarn, I'll say playing with a tennis ball. And then I'll resubmit the job. I'll click submit. And let's check it out. Whoops. Create tab. And you can see it's just that part in there is creating noise. And now we have our result here. So we were able to just paint out part of it and download the result. And I guess what we can do is you can upscale on this. Like I said, I usually use the, so here I'll just say upscale subtle. So the resolution of this, I'm not exactly sure what this resolution is. Let me check. Whoops. So it's this. This is the resolution right here, 1232 by 928. Let me try upscaling it. So I'll say upscale. I'll just say subtle. So hopefully, when you say subtle, it means you want it to look basically the same as it does. You just want it to be higher resolution. And here, a good example, you're seeing the process. This is almost exactly what that slide looked like, right? It starts with this noise and then tries to back out of it. %, complete. So the upscaling process, I guess that takes more than one of the other ones. Yeah, too many toes. Yeah. So sometimes, like, again, you really have to like look carefully at some of these things and modify them and fix them. So I would definitely like look at it closer if I was going to go forward with this some more. Let's see what it does here. Yeah, kind of the thing people always make fun of is like the hands with the AI and stuff like that, but it's actually pretty good these days. I mean, it's getting better. So let's bring this here. So I mean, this is the detail here, what you're seeing. I'll bring it to Affinity Photo. So this new one is, yeah, this new one is 2864 by 1856. And you could use an upscaler to even make it higher resolution. You could do a background remover tool or something like that. Something I like to do is, a lot of times, sometimes I find it'll be a little desaturated. So I'll click on the adjustments here. And you can go and you can say vibrance or something. Maybe make it look a little more vibrant. If you want to adjust the levels, maybe add like a curve or something. I don't know, just boost contrast a little bit. Let's see if this helped at all. So before, after, before, after. It's a subtle one. This one actually came out pretty well to begin with, but sometimes they don't. But yeah, it's quite powerful. But you can do things like further modify this. So let's say I want to make the eyes blue. So I'll add a pixel layer here. And again, you can do this in any program. I'm not so much kind of giving a affinity tutorial right now. I'm just kind of showing you conceptually like a workflow you could do. And let's give him some bluer eyes or something. Maybe it's like a Dune cat or something from Dune. So if you paint over it like this, it's not going to look that great. But if you change the blend mode to something like probably color. Yeah, color. Maybe even yeah, that one. Yeah, so I can like redo the eyes if I want. And that's pretty crazy bright, but now we have a new type of image, right? So this was before, after, before, after. And you can kind of go and you can make these selective changes for things if you want. You can just modify images. You don't have to take exactly what it gives you out of the box here. Another cool thing is seamless patterns. So you can add parameters to the end of your prompts to do certain things, and -- tile is one for seamless patterns. So let's check that out here. The one I like is, I wrote this one ahead of time. But the key thing here is I say vintage florals on a vine, butterflies, ornate art deco pattern, and then I say -- tile. And this will make it seamless. So let's see how it works here. Whoops. And I can also change the ratio of it, but I'll just do it by default. Let's submit it. And let's see how it looks. So once this finishes, we're going to want to verify it. So usually it's right, but sometimes you just want to make sure it actually fits. And once again, you have this denoising process. So here you have a couple options. I think that, let's see if this one actually works. So I will save this. I'll save it to my desktop. I'll say seamless pattern. And then in Affinity Designer, I'll create a new document, just something. And what I'll do is I'll create like a rectangle, and then I'll try to fill it with that pattern and see if it works. So let's create a rectangle here. And I'll use the gradient tool, this over here. Hopefully that's not cut off. And if you choose type, you can choose bitmap. And let's do C temp, this. So it looks like it's pretty good here. So in the image, I guess the butterfly is where it's cutting off. So if we pay close attention to that area, it looks seamless there. We can see the whole result. And you can still go and modify this if you don't like it. So I can go and if I don't like the way the butterfly looks, well, let's try another one. Let's try I don't know what another good seamless pattern is. Let's say vintage oranges tile. In vintage oranges in a I don't know, 18th century illustration style. Actually, it should be 19th century. That's the 1800s. And I'll say dash dash tile. Let's see. Let's see if this gives us anything cool. So this is really nice for creating patterns. And I'll show you how to check it in another website if you don't have a Affinity Designer. But again, you have to kind of know that parameter dash dash tile. It's not one of these options yet. Maybe it will be eventually, but it's not there. So this looks pretty cool. Yeah, so this one. So let me go to another website. There's a website called Seamless Pattern Checker, I think. And you can just copy and paste an image in here and it'll show you. So let's copy this, copy image. Then I'll paste, Control V. And it just shows you your pattern and you can kind of look at it. I prefer the Affinity Designer way, but this is another tool that you can use to see if it's working. I just don't know if you can actually, you can't really zoom in to look closely, but you know, it's good enough here. So we can see that it looks like a seamless pattern to me. So that's pretty cool. And this was something that, you know, a lot of people requested. Back in the old days, you had to kind of like trick it into making a seamless pattern, but now it just works with that tile parameter. So it's pretty cool, I think. Another big request people have is text. So people ask, can it do text? And the answer is yes, but it's kind of iffy at the moment. So the way you work with text is you put the text you want in quotes. So if I want a street sign that says Main Street, this is my prompt. Let's go back and do it. My prompt here, I put what I want to be in text in quotes. So I hit enter. And then it'll generate that, and it'll try to put those words in quotes. And this is something that's always getting better. It's still a work in progress, but I have a couple of things I can show you with this. So here we have our results. So pretty much got it correctly there. I think I had stylization set very high. Do I still have that? Yeah, my stylization's like cranked up. Let me reset it. That's kind of funny. I didn't even know I had that set. But that explains the oranges. I was like, wow, those oranges are really really vibrant. But yes, so you can use quotes to put things in text. I have a longer one. Let me show you here. Let's do this one. So this one's like a logo for a puzzle game. And I just called the game Word Game. But then I had a bunch of other stuff that just kind of describes what I want, you know, fun, playful graphics. So let's see what this does. I could see this kind of being the, when you see it, you'll kind of understand, but it could be like the cover of like a video game or something like that, you know. So here we have the results. So I think this one actually did a pretty good job of the words. So let's do it again. Let's do it with something else. I don't know. Maybe it's Animal World or something. So we can generate it. And it should get it relatively correct. Yeah, so like, you know, whatever your, you know, if you need a screen for something, you could do this. One thing I'll say is that the dimensions often have a very strong influence on it. So let me do this again. I'll show you a problem I was having earlier on. If I make this like really tall, I'm changing the ratio size here. So let me submit this. So I made it really tall here. Same quote as before. Yeah, sometimes you'll see like it'll try to put the words too often, or it'll start to get more confused when it doesn't have a nice aspect ratio like that. So this is kind of the one of the ways the aspect ratio really influences the result you get. Just in case you can't see it. You know, I just said Word Game, but it just tries to, a lot of times it tries to keep filling in the area, you know, as it goes down. Whereas it seems like with the square case, it does a pretty good job of that. One thing you can also do is you can kind of use the results as inspiration and then modify them further. So let's look at an example of that. And this kind of goes more with the word stuff. So I put a prompt here. You'll see what the result is when it comes out. But it's a parrot. It's kind of like a watercolor thing. Maybe it's a logo for like a website or something. So yeah, here we have this is our result. And it says that text because I put the text down here. So it's kind of interesting. And one thing you can do is you can actually, like, again, if you see this, it doesn't look like quite right down here, but you can actually use this as like inspiration for, as a starting place for a design. So for example, if I copy this image, let me put it into like Affinity Designer or something. You know, what you can do is, well, let me create a new document that's bigger. Hi, Secmatera. Yeah, cheers for the alcohol there. Yeah, this one's a little bit small. I didn't upscale it just because I want to take your time, but let me rasterize this. So what I could do is maybe I want to rearrange these elements, right? So I like the elements, but I want to make it big, make it a different shape. So I could take this. I could, let's say, whoops. Maybe I could like copy this and paste it. So now I have that as a separate element that I can play with. I could do the same thing with the I'll call this the bottle. I could do the same thing with the bird. So I'll take the bird, the parrot, if you will. And I'm not doing the best selection because I'm just kind of going through it to save time. But you know, if this is real life, we would make a better selection. But let's select the bird. Control C. Whoops. I was on the wrong layer. Yeah, okay. So yeah, now we have the bird, right? So we have these separate things we can use, and you know, so if I want this to be like that, you know, I can change this, and of course I could use my own text, right? So if I had my own logo, you can go from here and you can, whatever, choose something that looks good. I don't know. Whatever looks interesting to you. But, you know, I like this example because you don't have to actually just like take the composition it gives you. You can actually mess around with it a little bit more. So you can create something new based on the elements it gives you, like this. So you're not just strictly stuck with this. And one of the key things about this is I said white background, I believe, somewhere. So that helps you like cut things up and edit them a little bit more. Speaking of that, let's look at some more design assets here. I released a video this week on textures in Affinity Photo and just like using them. But you can like create textures just as easily in this program too. You don't have to download them from other sites. So for example, I can say, let's say canvas paper texture. I forgot to change the aspect ratio again. I always do that. But yeah, so here we have like a texture we could apply to our photo. Now it's very strong. So what you would do is, just like real life, you would say, how do we want to change this? Well, maybe I want it to be, you know, a more subtle texture. So I'll say, let's say subtle canvas. Whoops, I didn't spell subtle right. Subtle canvas paper texture. And let's see what it says with that. Can I make a business vector logo? Sure, I'll check that right after this. Yeah, so sometimes you kind of have to like maybe play with it a little bit here. Subtle white canvas, let's just say texture. Because I think paper is making it think of like, you know, it wants to see tears and stuff like that and folds. Sometimes like certain words are very strong. Like you'll see like certain, you know, if you say certain words, it just like assumes you mean a certain thing like really strongly. And you kind of have to like work around them a little bit. So this is kind of how you can generate some textures here. Yeah, so it's still kind of foldy. So I think, you know, that's kind of what you could do. You could say like no folds or something like that. I'll do this one more time and then we'll see. And I'll look at that business logo question of yours, Junkier. I think the aspect ratio might also be influencing it. Let's change the aspect ratio. Let's just do 1. Okay, now we have much more of like what I was trying to get at. Like this, you know. This is something like you could use in your artwork or something like that. Apply it to your photos or apply it to your designs. Yeah, so it took a while to get there, but you can kind of see if you just need these assets like right off, you know, just you can just generate them if you can't find exactly the ones you want. So for like a business logo, what I would do is I would start by just going to the Explore tab and saying like business logo or something, or even just logo. And I mean, these are the results here, right? So this one, let's I guess it's German or something. Interesting, it works with German. Let me see if I can find an English one just so I know a little more what it's saying. Let's look at this one. Yeah. Let's use this. Trying to copy the text. And I'll say, with the name, I'll call it your name. John Kier. Let's make sure we have a good aspect ratio. Yeah, let's just do a square. All right, let's see what we get. Yeah, so there we go. Like that's an example of how you could start. And you could kind of go from here, right? You could do different things if you wanted. I don't know what else, you know, maybe it's like a green leaf, a lightning bolt, you know, whatever kind of things would be in a logo. Yeah, so yeah, definitely there's lots of things you can do. And like I said, this isn't a vector result. You would have to go and vectorize it yourself or just like upscale it and just use the raster version of it. But that's kind of the way you could do it. And you know, the terms to get this look is really going to depend. Like I said, if you look at the Explore tab, if you look at logo, if you click on various things, you'll see the type of words they use. Usually logo is going to be very vectorish if you use that type of word. He used vector art down there, simple, clean, those types of things. What else? Yeah, just logo very much implies vector to MidJourney. So that's one way you can get that. So hopefully that kind of shows you some examples there, and you could just kind of go and iterate over it, you know, like that. One other thing you can do is use mockups and create your own mockups. So let me show you an example of this. I know, again, a lot of people do print on demand. You could do a t-shirt mockup. Okay, so let's do this. Maybe more of a portrait size. So let's see what this gives us. So I said t-shirt mockup photo on a table, flat lay photography. So there we go, right? Maybe we like this one, but we want to do it again with like no shadow. So let's see. Let me try it again. Can I rerun? Yeah, I'll just say no shadow. I think I have to make a change. Yeah, you have to make a change, but you can if you see the results and you don't want there to be a shadow or something like that, you can try that. Let's do it again. No shadow. So these are the t-shirt results here. And again, what you can do is you can, let me find a good one. Let's do this. Well, I don't like the shadow on that one for reasons I'll show you shortly. I'm trying to find one with some folds. Let me just do it again with some subtle folds. And now I'll show you how you can actually put something on this. Yeah, I don't really like those. Let me do this one. So I'll just copy this. And again, if you're going to use this for like your business or something like that, you want to make sure that this T-shirt represents your your actual you know, the T-shirt you're selling, because there are subtle differences between T-shirts. But you can go and you can place an image here, and let me find like an image I have. So you can like place a design on it, and I'll just find something I have on my computer right here. Yeah, so maybe you have like this kind of Christmassy logo. And you can put it there. And you can set the blend mode to something like, you know, multiply. You can kind of dial down the opacity a little bit. And, you know, relatively easily, you can create a T-shirt mock-up just out of thin air. And this is a case with, where I think it's kind of desaturated. So what I would do is I would probably go and adjust the levels a little bit. Levels are curves, they're kind of similar. Maybe get a little more contrast going. Maybe even, you know, adjust the exposure. Just make it a little bit brighter. Again, this is kind of just a matter of style. You can change the temperature if you want. Somewhere there's a temperature. I think it's white. Yeah, it's called white balance here. So that's cooler, warmer, maybe a little warmer. And you can adjust the vibrance also. So let's look at before and after. So this is before, after, before, after. So that's kind of like the way you can go and modify things a little bit if you want. Now, one of the big additions that was done recently is modifying an existing image. And that's kind of like a major thing that people wanted. So let me show you how to do that. This is basically you take an image that you already have, you upload it, and you kind of do inpainting, or you fill in some area of it. And this is going to use the new editor, which isn't available to everyone yet, but it's this button here. Let me go back to the main page. This edit button, they're slowly rolling it out because they're changing the way that they are editing things. But if I click this, yes, yeah. I already did this. I don't know why it's asking me again. What you can do is you can give it URLs of images, or you can upload an image. Let me give it a URL of an image. I'll say edit from URL. And I'll paste the URL here. I'll say OK. And we have this image. So this is just an existing image. What you can do is again, the UI is a little bit different when I have it minimized here. Maybe you can't see, but there's a brush size control over here. So I'm just going to change the brush size. That's all I'm going to do. And what you can do is you can erase the eyes here. Now, to generate, let me undo that for a second. To generate it, you actually have to like type in some text, and the easy way to get some text here is to use this describe option, which again is, it's not showing on that. Suggest prompt. So if I click suggest prompt here, let me move it over to the side. I don't know why it doesn't show on the smaller menu. But if I say suggest prompt, it'll describe my image here. So if I click this, it's thinking, and what it's going to do is it's going to put text here. So it's explaining what this image here is. So let me put it back to the size. So now I can rerun this command, but what I can do is I can erase part of it. So I'm going to erase part of it here. I'm going to erase his eyes. And then here it says a young man in sunglasses. I'm going to get rid of sunglasses. And blue. I'm just going to leave it like that. So there's no mention of sunglasses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit this edit. And it's going to repaint, and it's going to fill in this area. So let's see what it does. And this one takes a little longer than the other ones, but eventually it finishes it. So let's see what the result is. Creation failed. Interesting. Okay, let's try it again. This is one of those beta features, so, you know, I guess this is the beta experience. But they're rolling this out to people who, I believe, if you're on the yearly plan or if you've been a subscriber for over a year, you have access to this feature. This is kind of the way they do things. But yeah, so here you can see it created his new eyes here. So you can see the different results. It gives me 4 different results here. So what we can do is we can further do it. So let me erase his entire body. Let's get rid of this part here. I'm gonna make him a, I don't know, football player or something. So I'll say young man in a football uniform. No white shirt and tie. Posing for the camera. Yeah, this is good. So let's do this. So this is kind of like Photoshop's in-painting tool. And I think it's better just because MidJourney does such a better job of generating images. And one thing I'll say in general is that a lot of tools will have this side feature of generating images these days, like Canva, Creative Fabrica, all these different websites. And usually, this is funny, but I think the tools that are dedicated to one task usually do the task the best. And MidJourney is just dedicated to images, so I think it's probably the best for that right now. Usually these other tools that have like image generation as the side thing, it's not going to be as impressive. But yeah, here we have the result. So, you know, we went from this to this. He's a little on the skinnier side in some of these images, but that's kind of how you can actually modify existing images. Let's try one more here. You can also expand the image. So let me show you another one here. Let's do another example. So I have this one of a woman drinking a coffee here. Let's say you want to have this photo, but you're like, I want it to be wider. I want more of a background. Well, you can actually resize it. And again, the controls are all different because I'm on a different thing. But let me move this over. So I can click this down here and make it a different size. So I can do 16 by 9 here. And then I'll, I forgot to change the prompt, but I want to get my prompt again, suggest prompt. And then it's going to try to fill in the content here on the side. So let me just wait for that to generate. Okay. And you can see sometimes it gets very elaborate, but you know, I don't really, it's fine by me. Let's submit the edit. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it's pretty cool, Teak. It's definitely a nice feature. I've only started using this particular feature about a week or so ago. And still, it's like, I'm still always amazed at the possibilities of what it can do. Sometimes when you expand it like this, it just keeps the extra area black. I don't know why, but maybe this one, okay, so this one did a good job. So it actually filled it in. So looks pretty decent to me. Dedipus, reading your comment, how do you feel these sorts of tools compare to things like stock photos or clip art libraries in terms of how they fit into creative workflows? Yeah, that's a fantastic question because I've told many people, I think basically eventually clip art libraries are going to go away or they're just going to be completely dynamically generated. I mean, I think that's what is going to happen, going to the future. Sometimes I find myself using a clip art library. I don't find what I want. I just think to myself, why didn't I just start with MidJourney? And that's kind of what I'm doing increasingly these days, is just starting with MidJourney itself and just using it for that. And I think clip art might be interesting, because they're curated more. So I think if you want to kind of browse existing results, it's kind of cool. Like, if you're like, okay, show me examples of, watercolor, flowers or something, you can browse lots of results. But when you have something specific in your mind, I mean, I think this is just going to be it is a game changer in terms of generating assets like on demand. whether it's textures, whether it's just little things. Like, I mean, you know, maybe I was making a design and I just wanted like, you know, a realistic apple, you know, on a white background, okay? And maybe I couldn't find one that looked like what I wanted. I would just come here, I would just generate it. And, you know, I'm going to have exactly what I want, and I can iterate over it repeatedly. So you just type it in there. And a lot of, so I wonder why that happened there. So this, I think they still have the stylization low. But yeah, I think one thing with the word Apple, again, is that it gets confused with Apple computers. I'm very confused why that happened. Let me reset this. But yeah, like I use this all the time just for like just creating simple little things. And I'll show you in a little bit like some of the thumbnails I've created with this for my YouTube channel. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I think it's just going to be an unavoidable thing going forward. So this is kind of the main part of it. Let me look at my YouTube thumbnails here. Let me see if I can find any examples of that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know. Any other questions here? Just kind of going through. I'm just looking through my thumbnails. I'm trying to look at the ones where I did something with AI. I think I see one. Let me find this here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this stuff. I mean, some of it's very powerful. Some of it's kind of scary in a way of like what it's actually capable of doing. You know, it's changing so fast too. I'm just trying to find this thumbnail example I made of, yeah, I think this one. It's opening. Yeah, let me just look at something here for a second. Yeah, so this is a video I made recently. Whoops. I know those of you who see my channel, you may have maybe you saw this video a couple weeks ago of like, you know, painting inside text or something like that. But I couldn't find exactly like what I wanted with like the table and the notebook. And basically the thing I generated in MidJourney, I mean, this is what I generated in MidJourney. This is essentially from MidJourney here, if I remember correctly. I think that's where I got it from. So I needed this, and I just kept doing it until I got it. And then, you know, I added all the other stuff on top of it. But that's really, you know, where it came from, getting that graphic from there. So I think it's definitely quite a powerful tool to use. And like I said, what I recommend is kind of browsing through the Explore tab. So the Explore here, say Apple. Yeah, so here's like examples of like clip art. Like all the clip art you want is like right here, right? So there's like tons of stuff you could do. If you want like a lemon, you know, simple things like this are very common. So yeah, so I'll stay on for another couple minutes if you guys have questions. We're kind of running a little bit over time today, but let me know if you have any feedback on this. Close this. Like I said, the Explore tab is one of the good things to look at because it really shows you like how other people are using it. If you want to say logo, you can see that. Mockup is a good one. I like that type of thing. Yeah, no problem. But you know, a lot of people are using this for like website mockups too these days. So you can see, you know, how to create, you know, websites and stuff. Is there a, so yeah, again, like it's not ready to be used yet, but it's you can't use this like right out of the box, but it gives you inspiration on where to go from there. So yeah, it's quite interesting, and I'll be definitely making some more videos on this and probably some streams too, because I think it's a pretty important part of many workflows these days, whether you use this one or whether you use Photoshop's. So yeah, that's MidJourney, and I have some other videos coming out this week, and I will be kind of doing more videos on other topics besides just Affinity. I'll be doing some on DaVinci Resolve. I have some coming up. I have some more on MidJourney. Probably just gonna be doing some more software and tools going forward, just because you know, I think it's what I'm interested in, also other things. So that's kind of what you'll see probably more into the new year. But for those who watched today, thanks for attending. Next week I'll be back with another live stream, and hope to see you guys then. So stay warm until then, and have a good week. See you later.